Hello, folks. Welcome to the HireMyVA Team and Business Building podcast brought to you by ugozi.com. And in this podcast and HireMyVA, we help you to reclaim your freedom through hiring and thriving with virtual assistants without breaking the bank. And that means your bank, not my bank, your bank. And I'm Dave Braun. And again, I'm here with Larry Broughton, my fantastic friend and mentor, my buddy traveling through life with me. Larry, between you and me, we've coached a lot of folks, but you in particular have coached thousands of entrepreneurs to success in their life and their business, Lord. So tell everybody what's up.
Sup? Same old stuff, different day, I guess. No, things are good, Dave. Things are good. It's great to see you.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's been a very interesting year, hasn't it? I can't believe as we are recording this, the year's half over, 2022.
I know this is the last this week.
Man.
It's the last week of the quarter.
Isn't that crazy?
I was thinking, oh my gosh, I got to do a big push this week to get some of my goals going for this quarter.
Yeah. Time to pull a couple of all-nighters. I know.
Oh man.
Yeah. Well, it's good to see you, Dave. It's great to see you every week. Thanks for doing life with me.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love you. And love you too, man. Love doing these things. We got a good question.
Right. What is it?
Okay. Well, it's really a very important one. And the question is, how can I create?
None of the other ones are, Dave.
Okay. This in particular, right?
Okay. All right. What is it?
The question is, how can I create a deeper community within our team? Or how do I improve team cohesion? And I think, Larry, this is one of the important ones. The reason I say it's important, they're all important, right? You're right. Yeah. But in the age of how much stuff we're doing remotely and through Zoom, we're recording this through Zoom.
Sure.
It's like, we got to double our efforts to do this. It's not as in the past, you're sitting in the office. It's so easy to go to lunch and hang out in the break room together and talk, but it's harder to do that now.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, how do we create a deeper community within our team?
Well, maybe the first question is why?
Oh, that's a good question. It is a really good question.
Why would you do that? I mean, I have heard some entrepreneurs argue, I don't care whether there's a tight cohesion or not. Just come in, do what you're supposed to do. I will reward you for your efforts and go.
Yeah.
And the one person I'm thinking about in particular is not doing that to be a jerk, Dave. He's like, I don't own you. But if you're going to make a commitment to me that you're going to show up and you're going to, be willing to take a check for me every week, you don't need to be married to me, but give me 100% when you're here, right? Now, there was the old command and control days that you did it because that's what you're supposed to do, or you were from my dad's generation where you committed decades of your life to an employer. Those days are behind us for the most part.
They are, yeah.
Right. But so why would you do that? Well, I think, Dave, a cohesive team. I can only go based on what I study, what I read, interviews I see with CEOs, high performers, my experience in the military. When you have a team, Dave, that is, to use your word, there's strong cohesion, then there's higher productivity. There's a pure sense of reaching a goal. There's a sense of service among each other, right? And so the higher the level of productivity, the more efficient you are as an organization, the more profitable you are as an organization, which leads to sustainability, which means you can keep people employed. That's one of the reasons why you do it. Another reason is to give people a sense of meaning, for crying out loud, that they're spending a third of their life with you. Wouldn't it be important if there's actually some meaning about this, And so I'm sure some of the stuff that's going to come up feed both the meaning part of the job that also lead to the productivity part of the job, because there is meaning, right?
Yeah.
So I think I just want to spend a minute, here's why it's important. So the what is a different story, though.
Yeah, people are these days, everybody's looking for a little bit more meaning in their life. And like you said, it's 8 hours a day or a lot of times more. And people don't want to spend their great hours of their life, their prime of their life doing stuff that just is not significant in their eyes.
Listen, if you can have meaning in your life through your work, that's a great thing. But I also believe there's honor in anyone who's willing to work, bust their tail to provide for their family.
Yeah.
There's meaning in that too. You gotta find it. I don't want to get too much down the rabbit hole with the Stoics, right? But there's honor in providing for your family, for sure.
Yeah, I think that the meaning that we're talking about is based upon, the individual.
Sure,
right?
of course.
That may be the number one thing in somebody's mind, or their how they're thinking is, I'm providing for my family. I'm raising a great family to go out and do great things. Here's a great example, Larry.
Okay.
It's so we've had a gardener in the past, but we have this one person and his little business. They trim our trees and stuff like that. Been coming for years. So I talked to him about his family. Well, he's got like 4 kids. One's a lawyer, 2 of them are doctors, a fourth one's like a pharmacist. I know.
Overachieve much?
Well, and he came from I don't know if it was like Vietnam or Laos or Cambodia, but his focus, his meaning in life has been, let me get my kids educated so they don't have to bust their butts in the same way that I am doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I talk to him, he's proud, and he should be really proud.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So how do you do it? That's a good story, by the way. I love hearing stories about that. And the sad part, Dave, is that I'm not going to, I promise you I won't go down the rabbit hole where you don't want me to go. Okay. But I will say this. There is a level of frustration I have about our fellow Americans who have not traveled outside this country, who've not seen the misery and the pain that a lot of immigrants have coming here legally, right? To make an impact on the lives of their family members, right? While a lot of us sit here and just bitch and complain about things, boy, have we got it. We've got it good. And I mean, we're not perfect. No country is perfect.
Oh yeah.
Boy, have we got opportunities here that places around the world just lack. They just lack them. So how do you do this, Dave? I think one of the first things we need to do is we have to act, they call it vision casting, right? You got to cast your vision of what does your organization look like to your team members and to the world? Okay. And then you have to pound it into everyone's head, right? This is why we have this dynamic business plan for growth in our organizations. This is why you should post it on bulletin boards. This is why it should be part of your recruiting efforts. Who are you as an organization, and what do you want to be, right? Now, I would not suggest that if your corporate culture is to grind people down at every opportunity, no vacations, no benefits, those probably aren't the values that are going to attract the sunshine, lollipops, and rainbow people.
I was going to have that as one of my core values, grind you down, but I thought, well, let me cross that one off.
The beatings will continue until morale improves, kind of thing, right? So I think that's one of the things you have to really cast your vision. And I'm just going to touch on a couple of these, Dave, and we can go as deep or wide as you want.
Well, one of the things go ahead.
One of the things that kind of popped into my mind as we were chatting there, and this is going to rub some people the wrong way, but I've seen it, and we do it in our organizations, is that we make sure that everyone knows what each other's responsibilities and accountabilities are.
Yeah.
Right. That tends to build cohesion. Right. And I'm going to use a word here that's might trigger some folks. I think we need to celebrate the diversities of opinions in our organizations, because that's where creativity comes from. That's really important. This is where strength comes from, is when you have diverse ideas and opinions, and don't shut people down.
Yeah, we remember we did a couple of episodes on psychological safety.
Yeah,
we talked about,
and I was triggered in that.
Yeah, and those, just search HireMyVA space psychological safety, and it should come up. I don't remember the episode. or episodes. We talked about it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a great way to make sure we have some good team cohesion, is to honor what people are saying and allow everybody to speak, their creative thoughts.
Well, you better have the guts as a leader to do that, though. Most don't. Let's just be honest. Most don't. I think that is a damn shame that you don't have the courage to have those types of conversations. So what I would encourage you to do, if you really want to build cohesion, you run headlong into this conflict, but you solve it or you mitigate it, right? That will build cohesion. There's nothing like, tragedy is not the right word, but it's the word that's coming to me right now. Tragedy can bring organizations together.
Yeah.
Difficulty can bring people together if you have the right heart about it, right? Think about when if you've been on a sports team and you just everybody played their hearts out, but they still got rocked, right? It still brings you together, right? And you go on and fight another day, right? Sometimes cohesion comes from defeat more than it does from victory. It all depends on how did you get there, right? But I think we need to capitalize, Dave, on the strengths of individual team members as well. And this is one of the things that my wrestling coach was so good at. Sometimes he would pull people out of the lineup just because a better wrestler was better for that opponent in order to win the match. That I think that was really important to do from time to time. But I think you got to do those things to build cohesive teams. But then, of course, there's the things that, whether it's, I always make fun of people who do trust falls, because some of those, you've seen me show videos of those where they have failed. But doing things that are going to bring folks together, like serving your communities together, right?
And sometimes that's a little bit hard to do when you're a remote team.
Sure.
But you can encourage people to do that on an individual basis and bring their stories back to the team and celebrate those things. I want to go back to one of the things that you said, and we can touch on some of the service in the community.
Sure.
But have you ever seen that movie called We Are Marshall?
So I don't believe so. Tell me.
So it happened in, I think it was 1970 or 71, like almost the entire football team of Marshall University, and I think it's Ohio, plane crash, and they all died. Coaches, the whole team, everything.
My heart just sunk. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the movie is about them resurrecting the program and the struggles and all that kind of stuff. And I think it was in this movie, they were back then in the NCAA football, you were not allowed to play freshmen. They couldn't play on the field, but they had to get a special dispensation or whatever to allow their freshmen to play, because that was the only people that they could get to come to their team. But one of the things that happened is, they were getting rocked, of course, because they're all freshmen and maybe a couple of experienced folks against these bigger teams. But one of the things that they did is their first touchdown in a game, they celebrated. And so they were able to, in the midst of this tragedy, in the midst of all the stuff going on, there was a little victory, and they all celebrated it and helped them to come together. Even though they got wiped out, they celebrated that victory, and it started bringing the team together.
What's the name of that movie?
It's called We Are Marshall.
We Are Marshall.
I think I may have it on DVD. When you come over, you can borrow it.
What is this DVD of which you speak?
Yeah, and it's actually old enough that it's a DVD. I don't think it's on.
I don't know if I have a DVD player.
But it was on Netflix not too long ago. I've watched it a couple of times. It stars Matthew McConaughey. Does a great job in it.
Okay.
But so I think as far as team cohesion goes,
tragedy brought those guys together.
Yeah, and so but tragedy brought them together. It was threatening to tear them apart, but a great leader will find what they can celebrate within
Yes.
within a
Thank you.
tragedy.
Yes.
You know, and I think that's one of the great ways to bring a team together is just to celebrate the good things that are happening, whatever it is. I mean, you guys are all in business listening to this. You're in business to serve your clients and doing amazing things for them. Celebrate all those little victories that you've got. You know, you completed this for a client, or they came back and they said, hey, you know, my business has grown, doubled because you guys have done certain things for us. Or,
Yeah.
you know, you've taken this, you know, you've taken this thing off of my plate. I don't have to worry about it. And I can go over here and make sales or whatever it is. Celebrate those things. And I think as leaders, we've got to look for those things that we can celebrate and seek them out. Ask our clients,
Yeah.
you know, some of your great clients, ask them, why did they even go with you? Why are they still paying you? So anyway, I think that's one of the best ways to do team cohesion. If your team understands how they are making an impact to the company's clients, to your company's clients, it really goes a long way to, it goes a long way to inspire them.
I love that a lot. Because boy, is it easy for team members to curl up in the fetal position after a loss,
Yeah.
you know, and not fight on. But this is kind of an obvious one because it's everybody understands the importance of it, and I kind of wrapped it up in this trust fall thing, but find fun things to do
Yeah. Yeah.
with each other, you know, like you're saying, celebrate the little victories in your office. Now I was young enough to be living in San Francisco and Silicon Valley area during the .com boom and bust. And back then everyone was talking about, oh my gosh, they ride segways through their office, or they do like beach balls around the office, or they do all these goofy things, right? And it got to the point where it went way overboard and people had to start reining it back in because everyone was having fun and no one was making money.
Yeah.
Right. So there is a balance, but you need to identify what is the personality of your organization. How can you celebrate fun? How can you laugh with each other? How can you share experiences with each other? I think that's really important, whether it's the gamification of work, which happens a lot. A lot of people are finding that very successful in their organizations. Not in every organization, but there are a lot of organizations where they gamify everything, whether it's sales victories or whether it's, you know, pieces produced, whatever it is. Some people respond to the gamification of work.
Yeah.
Your organization might not. You don't need to pigeonhole your organization into some, if you're a round peg, it doesn't need to go into a square hole, but you might find that might work a little bit. So laugh a lot, gamify if you must, but enjoy yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, another thing too, is that I've gotten a lot more enthused about my own company and what we're doing. And one of the reasons is I found out I was losing something, and
Your soul?
I was losing. So I'm showing everybody, if you're listening to this, I've got a cup with my name on it. And then in the back of it has my top 5 strengths. Starts off with learner, right?
These are Gallup strengths, by the way.
Gallup strengths. And I was missing that. I was not forcing the issue in my own time is to learn things. And it's funny, Larry, is learner is one of the top strengths that so many people have. And it's very common in top 5. And then I think in my team, it's there with everybody. And so I'm working on figuring out, how do I embed learning within our company in a way we can all take advantage of it. One of the things I'm doing now is recording some videos of what I'm learning on certain things, having other people do that as well. One of the things that I need to share with you is I had Daff do some research into Alignable, like what's good about it and all that stuff.
Dave. I'm laughing, folks, because this is so Dave. But go ahead. It's awesome, by the way.
Yeah, I had her do some research into it, and she put together a presentation and recorded a video and shared it with the team. Right. And so I think by us doing that within our team, and you guys can do that as well, sharing what you're learning, what's going on in your life, that helps team cohesion as well.
Yeah, I think that's really good. You know, another tip I think that might help with team cohesion, Dave, I'm sorry, I'm still laughing. It's so classic, Dave. Is realizing that neither you nor your team members will live on forever.
Mm.
And so the question of sustainability or a successor plan, I think, is really important. That will build cohesion, because I can tell you at one point you will get to that age. Let's say that you're 20 now, or let's say that you're 60 now. Some people are going to start scratching their head and saying, what's the next chapter of this organization?
Yeah.
Right. And we're talking about cohesion here, right? How do we keep it glued together? How do we move forward? Right. And I'm always surprised, Dave, at how few people think that the business that they've been running for 20 years, 30 years in some cases, 5 years, they don't even realize that they have an asset that they can sell. Do you know that most small businesses don't sell? Do you know that they just wind them down? Think about the plumbing company. Think about the deli, the dry cleaning store. They wind them down instead of actually realizing I have an asset here, right? So if you were talking cohesion, start thinking about that. What's the next chapter of the organization look like for not just you, but for your team members? I think that would fuel some cohesion.
That's a good one.
Oh, I got ideas, Dave.
That's, yeah, there's that for sure. And another thought is, Larry, we're constantly preaching, investing in the development of your team members, giving them opportunities to learn and grow, to get new skills and all that, because that, as you've said many times, and it just makes so much sense. That's one of the reasons that people leave. Well,
leave an organization.
Leave an organization. Well, let's look at it. Let's look at this as opposed to people leaving because they're not getting professionally developed. Let's look at it this way: is you can have more team cohesion, have your team members together because they are all getting developed and they're all learning new things and new skills and growing and helping the organization in new ways. And you'll never know, if you don't do this, you never know what's going to show up, what skills are going to show up, what passions are there going to be in some of your team members, unless you're learning and growing.
I love that. And you're talking about the Gallup State of the American Workforce Survey, where they talk about actually people feeling like they need to be professionally developed. I remember being in the military, and I don't know why I just thought about this. When someone got promoted, at least in the units that I was in, people were proud of them. People like gave you attaboys, congratulations, boy, was this deserved, right? I don't see that so often in corporate America. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes I see people start scratching it. Why did that happen for them? Who did they sleep with? What did they do? So I'd be careful of this, and ask yourself, are there guidelines, parameters, triggers to say, by accomplishing this, then I get promoted, I grow this way, right? But I do think that professional development is so important, because everyone wants to be on a winning team. It's like being on a sports team and never going to practice, but you show up anyway. Like ultimately you're just going to be the anchor around everyone's ankle, right? So because everyone should be investing in themselves, and certainly as a leader, you should be investing in your team members.
Yep.
And at least I think,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think that investment is not just in new skills and professional development, but part of that is in leadership. Work with them, give them opportunities to be leaders within your organization.
Well, who was it? Was it Covey? Who the heck was it? Says that, the primary goal of a leader is to create more leaders. I forget who, forgive me, whoever it is who said that. I like to give attribution when I can't remember who said it now. But the primary role of a leader is to create more leaders. Think about your organization. If you didn't have to do it all, but you had other leaders in your organization, right, who could help pick up the slack, who could help you chart the course for victory, who could help you strategize more effectively, who frankly might be better at it than you are. Wouldn't that be freaking awesome?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You know, it's so funny. We do these podcasts and it just reminds me of stuff that I need to do.
I see you taking notes.
I know. I'm always thinking, oh man, I need to do a little bit more on this.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and, you know, maybe another way that you can have team cohesion and have people feel good about where they're working and what they're doing
Mhm.
is involve them in the decision-making process.
Oh, I love
Part of
that.
that,
Yeah, yeah.
part of that involvement is going to be asking them questions, not because they're going to come to you because you're the owner of the company, for example, and you're like a great problem solver and you'll have opinions and things, ways that you can, you know, help resolve anything. But instead of us giving our thoughts first, why not ask them theirs first? Like, what would you do in this situation? Well, what's your thought? What do you prefer?
Dave, that's so important. I can think of two of our clients right now, both who are high quick starts, both who lack systems, follow through skills, right?
Okay.
So having either of those people in the organization where they are in the life cycle of their business, trying to answer questions about operations and systems is like so outside their wheelhouse that they shouldn't even be doing it, right? So when they start asking their team member, like if they bring on an operations person, what do you think? How could we approach this differently? What should we do? That people want to be asked those questions.
Yeah.
Many team members have been begging, they're longing for that their entire career, instead of just being told what to do, you know, right? Instead of just following this system or this pattern over and over again, somebody's really asking to engage with me. Like, how do I see this play out? Wow, that would be awesome if I could do that every day. So you aren't able to do that as a leader, though, if you don't know how you're built from a cognitive perspective, unless you've done kind of personality assessments. Even if it's, I think everyone knows my favorites are both the Colby A Index and the Clifton Strength Finders. And then I really like the octagram that kind of molds those two together. But listen, if it's DISC, if it's Myers-Briggs, if it's any of these personality assessments, at least you have some information about how your brain works compared to the rest of the world.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
I think it would be so important if we could just get our brains around and just ask yourself, ask your team members, hey, if you were the leader here, how would you suggest that we build a stronger community among our team members? How do you think we ought to be building a more cohesive team? And then just zip it and listen and see what they have to say.
That's right.
It'll go a long way.
Yeah, and especially there's no reason why you can't identify somebody on your team, assuming there is somebody, and likely there is, who would jump at the chance to, lead this effort or to give suggestions.
Yeah, historically we've done it. It's our head of people services who's been responsible for helping build the culture and defining that kind of thing. But yeah, I think you're right. You're going to have to find someone in the organization to do it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay. Well, we talked a lot about team cohesion. Let's see. A couple of things that we talked about, have fun, laugh as a team, celebrate the little victories, look for how you can have significance in your communities. And even though you're remote, bring that together in and celebrate that. We talked about more professional development, give them opportunities to lead and train them. And then we talked about making sure you understand yourself so that you can ask the right questions of folks. Did I miss anything else?
We start riffing and I don't know. There's
I know,
a bunch
I
of
think
things
I
that we
missed
left out.
something.
It's fine. Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of things, but you both get it, right? Go back and re-listen to this or listen to this over again if you miss some tidbits. But as an entrepreneur, you've got a great opportunity to serve your community, serve your family, break those multi-generational chains of poverty that have cursed you, right? Give some people, create a place where people feel dignity, and respect. Boy, wouldn't that be awesome? So that people loved coming to work with you.
Yeah.
It's a real honor. tell you, it's a real honor to be able to do that.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for
Yep.
being with us today and listening to us. We talked about a lot of stuff about team cohesion. Like Larry said, go back and re-listen to it. Take your notes there. Just take one little aspect away from this.
Yeah.
Just one thing. Like one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to work a little bit harder on creating better leaders in my organization and actually working with a couple of folks that show a lot of promise and guiding them, correcting, and working together with them. That's one of the things that I'm going to do. What is it that you're going to do? Put that in a comment below this video. If you're watching this on YouTube, or send us an email. You can do that at HireMyVA.com if you want. But remember, folks, building a team is the way to reclaim your freedom. It's work, it's not easy. We've talked about that here, but it is the best way to get your freedom back. We're here to help you, of course, with our course and community, our white glove service, where we find a rockstar VA for you. We've got our podcasts. So 3 things we'd love for you to do right now, and we'd really appreciate it. Number 1, subscribe to the podcast if you haven't done so already. And then number 2, give us a rating, preferably 5 stars, or leave a comment below this video, any comment to help us get the word out. And then number 3, go to HireMyVA.com for more information on our course and community and our white glove service. We're helping a lot of folks through our course community, our podcasts, everything that we've got going through Ugozi, Victory, HireMyVA. Just go to HireMyVA.com for more information. Send us an email. We'll guide you in how you can be helped by us. So go to HireMyVA.com for more information.
That's it. All right, Dave. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for being on the journey with me. All right, my friends. God bless you. God keep you. God hold you. All right. Go get them.
Okay.
See you later. Bye.
Bye, folks.